I told you this nerve is optic nerve, second cranial nerve, and myelin sheet of fibers of this nerve is formed by the oligodendrocytes here. I will remove optic nerve, and you see here optic tract and optic chiasma. I will remove olfactory tract, and you see here this nerve is
oculomotor nerve.
oculomotor nerve. If you remember, I told you oculomotor nerve has two parts. Yeah. Emerges from the medial border of the crus cerebri in the interpeduncular fossa, and then enters into the lateral wall of the sinus cavernosus. Yeah? And goes forward and then divides into superior and inferior branches in the superior orbital fissure. And innervates medial, superior, and inferior rectus muscles, superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus, and inferior
Rectus.
oblique muscles. Parasympathetic fibers of the oculomotor nerve go to the iris, go to the iris and ciliary muscle. Do you remember? I told you this is the function of this nerve is contraction of the pupil. If you remember, I told you the smallest cranial nerve emerges from posterior surface of the midbrain, inferior to the inferior colliculus. Yeah?
Yes.
And then turns around the midbrain, and similar to the oculomotor nerve, enters into the lateral wall of the
Orbit.
sinus cavernosus.
Muscles.
Yeah?
Yes.
In the lateral wall of the sinus cavernosus goes forward and enters into the superior orbital fissure and innervates superior oblique muscle. Superior oblique
Muscle.
muscle. This nerve is completely motor. Fifth cranial nerve is
Trigeminal nerve.
trigeminal. Yeah?
Yes.
This is oculomotor. Here is cochlear. And this
Trigeminal.
largest cranial nerve is called trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve emerges from the anterolateral or lateral surface of the bones, okay, and goes to the anterior from apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone after passing from the superior surface of the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone on the anterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone near to the apex. There is a depression. Yeah?
Yes.
This depression is called trigeminal fossa or trigeminal depression. In the trigeminal depression, trigeminal nerve expands and becomes
Trigeminal ganglion.
trigeminal ganglion or ganglion of Gusser. Ganglion of Gusser.
أو semilunar ganglion.
Or semilunar ganglion. Semilunar
Ganglion.
ganglion. from anterior border of the semillunar ganglion or Gosser's ganglion or trigeminal ganglion, three branches emerge. Ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, and
Mandibular.
nerve. If you remember, ophthalmic nerve passes through lateral wall of the
Sinus cavernous.
sinus cavernous, similar to the oculomotor and trochlear nerves, and enters into the superior orbital fissure, enters into the orbit, and makes many
Branches.
branches. Second branch is maxillary nerve. Maxillary nerve passes through rotundum foramen of the greater wing of the sphenoid. Yeah? Rotundum foramen. And from here enters into the infratemporal fossa.
Fossa.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Third branch is
Mandibular.
mandibular branch. Passes through oval
Oval.
foramen. Oval foramen. Yeah?
Yes.
Passes through
Oval
oval
foramen.
And in the infratemporal fossa, medial to this nerve, inferior to the oval foramen, medial to this nerve, there is a ganglion. That this ganglion is called
Otic.
otic ganglion. Otic. Pertaining to the
Hearing. Otic ganglion. For
yeah,
ear.
pertaining to the ear. Otic ganglion.
And mandibular nerve is only nerve that carry motor fiber.
Yeah. I told you ophthalmic branch and maxillary branch are completely sensory.
Sensory.
But mandibular branch
Sorry, Adam.
means it has sensory and
Motor.
motor fibers. And you see here there are three branches from anterior part of this nerve. Buccal branch, lingual nerve, and
Inferior alveolar.
inferior alveolar nerve. Yeah? This nerve is
Fifth.
trigeminal, fifth cranial
Nerve.
nerve. Sixth cranial nerve or abducens nerve emerges from pontomedullary sulcus. Pontomedullary
Sulcus.
sulcus. And then enters into the
Sinus cavernosus.
in the infralateral position of internal
Carotid artery.
passes inside of the sinus cavernosus
Cavernosus.
in the infralateral position of the internal carotid artery,
Artery.
and then enters into the superior orbital fissure and enters into the orbit and innervates lateral rectus muscle.
Yes.
Lateral rectus
Muscle.
muscle. Okay?
Yes.
This is completely
Motor.
motor. Seventh cranial nerve
Is facial nerve.
is facial nerve that emerges from
The internal acoustic
the
meatus.
pontomedullary emerges from the pontomedullary sulcus
Sulcus.
lateral to the abducens nerve.
Yes.
If you remember, this nerve is accompanied by the vestibulocochlear
Cochlear nerve.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cranial nerve number 8. Cranial nerve number 8 has two parts, vestibular and cochlear
Cochlear part.
parts. Vestibular and cochlear
Part.
parts. Vestibulocochlear nerve and facial nerve after emerging from pontomedullary sulcus, enter into the internal acoustic meatus.
Meatus.
Internal acoustic
Meatus.
meatus. Okay?
Yes. With labyrinthian artery, which is a branch
Yeah.
from basilar artery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
From anterolateral sulcus of the medulla oblongata, this nerve that is called hypoglossal nerve emerges, and from hypoglossal canal goes to the cervical region, the neck, and from posterolateral sulcus of the medulla oblongata, glossopharyngeal, vagus, and cranial part of the accessory nerve emerge. You know that after jugular foramen, these three nerves pass through jugular
Number
foramen.
9, number 10, and number 11.
Yeah. Inferior to the jugular foramen, there are two ganglia for the glossopharyngeal nerve, and vagus nerve has two ganglia,
Yeah.
superior and inferior ganglia.
Ganglia.
This nerve is spinal part of the accessory that join to the cranial part,
Part.
and after emerging from jugular foramen, cranial part join to the vagus nerve, and accessory part goes to the posterior cervical triangle.
Angle.
Innervates sternocleidomastoid and trapezoid
Muscle.
trapezius muscles. Yeah?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Okay. You know that internal carotid artery has four parts: cervical, petrosal, cavernosal, and cerebral. Intracranial or cerebral part of the internal carotid artery has many branches. Anterior cerebral artery, yeah, goes anterior and medial, superior to the optic chiasma and optic nerve, and enters into the longitudinal fissure between two cerebral hemispheres and turn around the corpus callosum. If you remember, I told you this artery supplies medial surface of the frontal and parietal lobes. Next branch is
Middle.
middle cerebral. Middle cerebral artery is the largest terminal branch of the internal carotid artery and enters into the lateral sulcus, and it has many cortical and central branches. This artery from internal carotid artery is called posterior communicating artery. This posterior communicating artery joined to the posterior cerebral artery. You know that posterior cerebral artery is a terminal branch of the basilar artery. This is vertebral artery, here is basilar artery. Anterior, inferior cerebellar artery, superior cerebellar artery,
Contact.
portine arteries, and labyrinthian artery are here. And this is posterior communicating artery. Between two anterior cerebral arteries, there is anterior communicating artery. And these arteries together, internal carotid, anterior cerebral, anterior communicating, posterior communicating, and posterior cerebral arteries make
Circuit.
greater circulation and greater circulus of the
Well.
arteries. That is called
Circuit of Willis.
circuit of Willis. Circulus of Willis. Yeah.
Yes.
In the formation of the circulus of Willis, middle cerebral artery
Does not participate.
doesn't participate. Okay?
Yes.
It's not in the formation of circulus of Willis. Okay?
Okay.
This is
Cerebral hemisphere.
lateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Between frontal and parietal lobes, there is central sulcus
Sulcus.
or Rolando's sulcus. Anterior to the central sulcus, there is frontal lobe, and on the frontal lobe, parallel to the central sulcus, there is precentral sulcus.
Yes.
Between precentral and central sulci, there is primary motor area or precentral gyrus, Rosman's area number 4. And anterior to the precentral sulcus, there are two superior and inferior frontal sulci, and there are three superior, middle, and inferior frontal gyrus. Lateral sulcus or Sylvian sulcus starts near to the anterior perforated substance, okay, between frontal and temporal lobes, and goes laterally, and the lateral surface divides into 3 branches: ascending branch,
Interior.
anterior horizontal branch,
And posterior.
and posterior line branch. Between ascending branch and anterior horizontal branch, this area is called triangular area, Brodmann's area number 45. And posterior to the ascending branch, there is opercular area, Brodmann's area number 44. These two areas on the left cerebral hemisphere is called Broca's motor speech area. Broca's motor speech
Area.
area. Posterior to the posterior line branch of the lateral sulcus or Sylvian sulcus, there is a gyrus that is called supramarginal gyrus. On the lateral surface of the temporal lobe, there are 2 superior and inferior temporal sulci, and there are 3 superior, middle, and inferior temporal
Gyrus.
On the superior temporal gyrus, on the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus, there are many oblique gyri that is called gyri of Herschel. And on the lateral surface, it's called primary auditory area. Brodmann's area number 41 and 42. Yeah? Here. And around this area, there is auditory association area, or Brodmann's area number 22. In the inferior temporal gyrus, near into the inferior surface, there is a fusiform area, and is related to the identification of objects and face.
Yes.
On the parietal lobe, posterior to the central sulcus, there is post-central sulcus, parallel to the central sulcus, and between post-central sulcus and central sulcus, there is post-central gyrus, or primary sensory area, Brodmann's area number 1, 2, 3. Posterior to the post-central sulcus, there is intraparietal sulcus. Superior to the intraparietal sulcus, there is superior parietal lobe, or Brodmann's area number 5 and 7. And inferior to the intraparietal sulcus, there is inferior parietal lobe. If you remember, inferior parietal lobe involves in the DMN, in the default mode network, and in the self-regulation, in the mentalization and theory of mind. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. On the lateral surface, there isn't any sulcus between parietal and occipital lobes. But on the medial surface, on the medial surface, superior to the corpus callosum, here is corpus callosum, yeah?
Yeah.
Rostrum, geno, body, and spleen. Superior to the corpus callosum, there is a layer of gray matter that is called indasium grisum.
So,
And superior to the indasium grisum, there is a sulcus that is called callosal sulcus.
yes.
From parafactory area anterior to the rostrum of the corpus callosum, this sulcus begins. This sulcus is called cingulate
Yeah.
sulcus. Cingulate
Sulcus.
sulcus. Posterior to the midpoint of the body of the corpus callosum, cingulate sulcus turns to the superior border of the cerebral hemisphere and becomes supramarginal or marginal sulcus.
Sulcus.
Between cingulate sulcus and callosal sulcus, this gyrus is called cingulate
Yes,
gyrus. Anterior cingulate cortex involves in the attention and self-control. Yeah? Attention and self-control and reward system. And posterior part of the cingulate gyrus involves in the DMN. Yeah, involves in the DMN and in the mentalization and in the theory of
Mind.
mind. medial surface of the frontal lobe anterior to the cingulate sulcus is called medial prefrontal area. That is involved in the attention, self-regulation, reward system. Yeah? Here. Between parietal lobe and occipital lobe on the medial surface, there is a sulcus that is called parieto-occipital sulcus. And on the medial surface of the occipital lobe, from
Calcarine.
occipital pole, okay, there is a sulcus, horizontal sulcus that is called calcarine sulcus. Calcarine
Sulcus.
sulcus. If you remember, I told you, superior and inferior of the calcarine sulcus, there is
A broad man's area.
Broadman's area number 17, or primary visual area. Primary visual
Area.
area. And on each side of the Broadman's area number 17, there are 18 and 19 regions. Visual association area, or secondary visual regions. Between calcarine sulcus and parieto-occipital sulcus on the medial surface of the occipital lobe, there is coneus. Here is coneus.
Yes.
And anterior to the coneus, there is preconeus.
Preconeus.
Preconeus is related to the
DMN.
and mentalization and theory
A
of
mind.
Yeah?
Yes.
Preconeus. And anterior to the preconeus, anterior to the supramarginal sulcus, there is paracentral lobule. Paracentral
Lobule.
lobule. In the paracentral lobule, you see continuation of the precentral gyrus and postcentral gyrus.
Yes.
This continuation of the postcentral gyrus is related to the sensory information of the
Lower limb.
opposite lower limb.
Yeah.
And this continuation of the precentral gyrus is for
Motor of the lower limb.
motor innervation of the opposite lower limb. Okay?
Yes.
If you remember, I told you medial surface of the frontal and parietal lobes are innervated by the anterior cerebral artery. Okay? If there is a weakness in the lower limb and lack of sensory or weakness of
Motor.
sensory information of the lower limb, paralysis and weakness of sensory goes together. Okay, it shows paracentral lobule as damage. Okay,
Yes.
maybe there is occlusion in the anterior cerebral artery. Is it clear?
Yes.
This is medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Here is inferior surface of the cerebral hemisphere. It's formed by two parts. Yeah? Inferior surface of the frontal lobe and inferior surface of the temporal and occipital
Occipital
lobes.
lobe.
This posterior part is called tentorial surface
Yes.
because it has
Tentor-
a relationship with the tentorial
Cerebral
cerebellum.
line.
In the inferior surface of the frontal lobe, there is a sulcus that is called olfactory sulcus.
Sulcus.
Olfactory bulb and olfactory tract are located in this sulcus. Medial to the olfactory sulcus, there is a straight
Gyrus.
gyrus. What's the function of straight gyrus? Higher cognitive functions. Yeah?
Yes.
Higher cognitive
Function.
functions. And lateral to the olfactory sulcus, there is orbital area that is related to the decision making and integration of emotional processes. In the tentorial surface, there is occipitotemporal sulcus on the lateral part of the occipitotemporal sulcus. There is lateral occipitotemporal gyrus, and medial to this sulcus there is medial occipitotemporal gyrus. Medial to the medial occipitotemporal gyrus. There is rhinal sulcus anteriorly and collateral sulcus posteriorly. Medial to the collateral sulcus, there is lingula. There is
Lingula.
or lingular gyrus. What's the function of lingular gyrus?
Yeah.
Speaking.
Encoding our visual memory. Encoding our
Visual memory.
visual memory. And medial to the rhinal sulcus, there is parahippocampus or parahippocampal gyrus. Anterior part of the parahippocampus is called entorhinal area, and anterior border of the entorhinal area is called
Uncus.
piriform cortex
Telephone.
or piriform area. If you remember, I told you pre-amygdala and piriform regions make primary olfactory region, and entorhinal area is secondary olfactory
Region.
area. Do you remember?
Yes.
On the medial part of the parahippocampus, on the anterior part, there is uncus. Under uncus, there is
Amygdaloid complex.
amygdaloid complex. Amygdaloid complex is located in the
Under uncus.
anterior end of the
Tail of good.
tail of the caudate
Nucleus.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Under uncus.
Nucleus.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Please